Welcome back, everyone. It's Dina Calmette here with CWW7 News. And for today's broadcast, I'd like to bring you an update in regards to microchip implanting. Now, it's been a few months since I brought you my last report, and there have been some developments. So with that said, I'd like to first take you to this report from The Sun. And they are reporting an expert believes that within the next 20 years, our heads will be boosted with special implants, so you won't need to memorize anything. Founder and CEO of Foundtech.ai says that technology could improve our lives and completely change how we learn. In an interview, he explained that he has been working on a revolutionary AI to personalize education to enable anyone can learn almost anything using AI. And he believes that within the next 2 decades, our heads will be boosted with special implants, so you won't need to memorize anything. He said that people won't have to bother typing any questions, as any queries will be answered immediately from an AI implant, which will result in the end of parrot fashion learning at schools. The expert, who has racked up more than 20 years of working with startups, stated that Google will be in your head, and that's not far-fetched. It'll be like having a really smart assistant that will almost think like you. He believes that by using such AI, anyone between the ages of 8 and 80 will be able to learn almost anything at their own pace. He said that it would be personalized and improve over time. So the more the tech gets to know you, the more it adapts to its teaching style, its voice, the time of day it speaks to you, all to optimize learning. According to Foundtech's website, for someone who doesn't have an in-depth understanding of technology, AI may seem like an alien concept. Yet the basic crux of the term is simple, namely the ability of a computer or machine to think, learn, and imitate intelligent human behavior. When it comes to AI in learning, we are only just scratching the surface. We shouldn't think that tailored learning is something that we won't see for decades. And The Sun is also reporting, as well as Sputnik News and Futurism, that China has invented a mind-reading chip called Brain Talker that sends your thoughts to a computer. The breakthrough device allows a person to control a computer with just their brain waves. Brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, are devices that have been designed to create a simple communication between the human brain and computers. Brain Talker has been specially created to decode brainwave information and send it straight to a computer with no verbal communication or movement required. In the future, this technology could be used for educational purposes, gaming, or as a medical device. It is not stated how the brain chip will be worn, but most BCIs are currently worn outside of the body and not actually inside a user's brain. The university's researcher, Ming Dong, said the signals transmitted and processed by the brain are submerged in the background noise. The BC3 has the ability to discriminate minor neural electrical signals and decode their information efficiently, which can greatly enhance the speed and accuracy of brain-computer interfaces. Ming believes that brain chips, like the one he has worked on, could soon be mainstream technology, also adding that brain-computer interfaces hold a promising future. The Brain Talker chip advances BCI technology, allowing it to become more portable, wearable, and accessible to the general public. Meanwhile, the U.S. military is developing wireless tech to control weapons with your mind. DARPA wants to wirelessly connect human brains to machines, allowing soldiers to fully control weapon systems. Imagine the potential applications, not only for military control of airplanes and weapons, but also for civilian uses, from controlling artificial vision systems to completely immersive virtual reality systems that will transport your consciousness to alternative relatives. It's the stuff of science fiction, but scientists have already made some advances in the field. The first human neuroprosthetic device appeared in the mid-1990s, allowing patients to control artificial limbs, but those required surgical interventions. More experiments during the early 2010s showed that scientists could reconstruct people's vision into digital video, but that's far from real time. Most recently, scientists at Carnegie Mellon University have figured out how to connect two brains using a machine to transfer information wirelessly. Now DARPA wants to take this technology to its inevitable conclusion. According to the agency, the N3 project, Next Generation Non-Surgical Neural Technology, aims to create reliable neural interfaces without the need for surgery or implanted electrodes. As DARPA says in its presentation, the technology has to be read and write, meaning that it would be bi-directional. It will not only be used for soldiers to control a drone swarm, one of the actual examples used by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, but it also puts sensory information inside people's brains, making them feel pressure or actually see things. The latter scenario is actually something Rice University, one of the recipients of DARPA's multi-million-dollar funding for N3, is working on, a system that will allow a blind person or anyone connected to it the vision of what other people is seeing. From there, the next step will be to emulate the brain activity to reproduce images taken with a digital camera. In addition to Rice, the project will give millions of dollars to laboratories at Carnegie Mellon University, Johns Hopkins University, and others. DARPA envisions two ways to make this happen. One is completely non-invasive, which will use something similar to a helmet or some other apparatus to transmit radio frequency waves that will transmit information into and out of the brain. The other one is called minimally invasive neural interfaces, which will require the subject to get a substance inside their bodies, either orally through a nasal spray or some other mechanism, like injections. Rather than affecting areas of the brain, DARPA expects this to work at a single neuron resolution, connecting to each neuron individually. The agency anticipates that this method could achieve 10 degrees of freedom. But for now, it's just fun experiments. But it's inevitable to think about where this research could lead us in a decade or two down the line. DARPA's ambition goes way beyond that. Finally, it reports that putting aside the moral and ethical implications that projects like this can bring if used for nefarious purposes, from enabling true cyborgs, helping people with disabilities, and enhancing humans, to the most frivolous applications, like truly immersive gaming, or experiencing other people's recorded experiences. And of course, it opens a path to Matrix-like alternative realities. Over the past few decades, microchip implant technology has moved from science fiction to reality. Today, hundreds of thousands of people around the world have chips or electronic transmitters inside them. Most are for medical reasons. More recently, body modification enthusiasts have been installing microchips in their bodies that do everything to start a car, to send a text message, to make a payment in Bitcoin. The market for non-medical implant technology is virtually unregulated, despite the facts that thousands of people around the world got chipped in the past 12 months. That may be about to change. Over the past few years, calls to heavily regulate or even ban voluntary implants have grown increasingly loud. There's a place for regulating implants, like any technology, but also a need to separate the fear from reality. The writer goes on to report, I was excited to get my implant in 2015 at a biohacker gathering called Grindfest in California, specifically in a garage in a dentist's chair surrounded by vintage medical posters. These implants, often called radio frequency ID or near-field communication tags, depending on the technology involved, are about the size of a grain of rice and are installed in people in seconds. They each have a unique identification number and cost as little as $50. Most people get them injected in the tissue between their thumb and index finger. Microchipping is still a fun part of semi-underground culture, but interest is growing in more serious quarters. In 2016, the Navy asked me to consult on a study. One of the concerns they had was how civilian implants in sailors could affect the workings of a nuclear submarine. As many of you are aware, implanting made national news when a Wisconsin technology company called 3 Square Market announced it was having a chipping party for its employees. Such interest from the military and the corporate sector has raised concerns, and not just among civil. Religious advocates have cautioned against the ethical challenges of the implants. In February, Skip Daly, a Democrat in the Nevada State Assembly, introduced a bill to make involuntary microchip implants illegal. He later amended it to include a voluntary microchipping as well. It goes on further to report that currently, no state has a law banning voluntary microchip implants, though along with Nevada, Arkansas, New Jersey, and Tennessee are drafting legislation centered around implants. California, Wisconsin, Missouri, Oklahoma, and North Dakota have laws in some form that ban involuntary implants. Finally, it reports that microchip implants are not for everyone. And while the health risks are small, like any technology, implanted chips will grow old, become outdated, and need to be replaced, a process that will be moderately bloody and painful. And there are legitimate privacy issues, similar to the current concerns over tracking phones. So far, though, implants can be detected by only a distance of a few feet. So why is this such a scary topic for some people? Well, for one, it's a perfect tool in order for them to track you. And secondly, because of the way it's been used in other countries to pay for certain items, it resembles similarities to what the Bible tells us will happen during the Great Tribulation. Now, many of you already know what